afternoon, everyone, or should I say good evening, because the clock has just struck 4 p.m. It's 4:03 by the clock. So applaud for yourself, unmute yourself, and applaud for yourself because you are here to attend something which is legendary today. Okay, with that warm welcome, I want to say something, and that is you must hear very carefully because you are here for a real treat, a real time that you will learn something today from somebody who is a legend, I would say. The more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is life to celebrate. That's what Oprah Winfrey said. And that's what I see in Dr. Ushi Mohan Das. Successful people are not just gifted, they work hard, then succeed on purpose. And that's what Ushi Mohan Das is. I am really, truly honored and humbled to be introducing her for the workshop today, for the humorous speech workshop. Professor Dr. Ushi Mohan Das is renowned doctor, a spiritual scientist, researching linguistics and communications. Hold on, there's not just it. There's a lot more, and you have to open your mind, open your ears, and hear it again. An ardent academic, a neuropsychology researcher, a globally esteemed motivational speaker, a, a voice coach, a many-time TEDx speaker. I guess the list is so long and that you have to hold on. And the most sought after meditation, energy, and leadership coach for more than 4 decades. And that's Dr. Ushi Mohan Das. Let's applaud and welcome her with a thunderous round of applause, a warm welcome for somebody who is such experience. I want to share something more before I hand over the stage to her. She is a globally esteemed mind and public speaking mastery coach and often referred to as Dr. Tung Fu. Isn't it nice? She's the founder of and CEO and principal mind coach at the acclaimed startup Dr. Ushi Wisdom Works. She's also a founder of potent wellness tool, the Alpha FM meditation. I'm not done yet. Hear out more. Dr. Ushi holds a fellowship in nutritional and environmental medicine and works tirelessly for the environment and its well-being. Yesterday was the World Environment Day, and I'm sure Dr. Ushi has impacted a lot of lives and made a difference to this as well. Dr. Ushi is an award-winning national crusader against corruption and malpractices in medical education. I totally correlate to it because I come from a doctor's family. My dad is a dental surgeon, and I have a family of doctors, so I can understand that. She does head a vast body, DAC, that's Doctors Against Corruption. She's been writing, she's been doing so many things. I can take those full 45 minutes to tell about her, but I do not want to take away any time now. I would want to call upon Dr. Ushi Mohan Das for the workshop. It's a 45 minutes workshop that she will conduct, and after which we'll have almost 15 minutes of question and answer session. And that will be all questions of yours that you have sent already, or you may post it on the Zoom chat, just in case you have one. So Dr. Ushi Mohan Das, this virtual stage, this virtual podium, with all these lovely bright smiles across Zoom is all yours, and we are so eager and want to get enlightened by your workshop. Over to you, Dr. Ushi Mohan Das.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are all going to have a great time. And Madam Syed, thank you for calling me a legend. You've been very kind. The last time I was in Malaysia, somebody called me a lagand. And you know what it can mean, right? So English has a different connotation, and people speak differently in different parts of the world. And I've been called all kinds of names. A lot of traits have been attributed to me, which sounds like English, but it's not, which is English, but didn't sound like English. Now, ladies and gentlemen, humor is meant to be natural. Humor is meant to be something where you practice day in and day out. For example, now if I told you laughter is the best medicine, except in dysentery, we can understand, right? I mean, you can imagine what happens to you. You can imagine in dysentery, if you laugh, what happens. So you need to actually be on the moment, in the moment, on the spot, in the spot. And you really need to start picking up these small little things that you see. One who's a keen observer is always a very humorous person. Imagine if I told you a story and I'm talking about alcohol, and I come up with a statement that alcohol is responsible for so many deaths, but people don't realize how many births it's responsible for. And you know, some of you have a big smile on your face because you know what happens to most of us when we drink. It's the weekend. And so you need to just not borrow a joke and force it into your conversations. You need not just write a joke and push it into a speech, but humor is an art. And you must be very situational. You must be very clinical. And you must be somebody who's very comfortable with the humor that you're going to speak about or you're going to include in the topic that you're sharing. You cannot have a joke after a joke after a joke after a joke because that becomes a comedian. That's not a humorist. A humorist can deliver serious messages funnily. For example, take my wife. Stop for a moment and say, please, you know he's suffering, right? I don't need to tell you anything. If I just tell you, take my spouse, and I wait for a moment and then I say, please, you know I'm suffering. So even though it's suffering, you still have a big smile on your face like Ratna Kumar. Finally, he's smiling when I said, take your spouse. So probably he relates to it, you know, in a different way. So all of you don't take offense. I'll be cracking a lot of jokes. Do not share this video if you record it on public forums. I'll get 20 more instant enemies. And at the end of the day, anything that I say does not hold any resemblance to Toastmasters in real life. So I might quote some examples, I might pass some statements, but it doesn't mean that it's offensive or against the movement. And for all of you whose backside gets tickled very quickly, just apply some Nycil and sit quietly for some time, because this is going to be actually tickling a lot of areas in your maybe funny bone, maybe a bone which irritates you, and maybe something you're very sensitive about. No wonder Toastmaster says don't talk about religion, politics, and sex, the three most interesting topics in the world. Most of the fun revolves around these three people. If I set the name Rahul Gandhi, why are some of you laughing like this? There's nothing which is actually humorous about a name, but the associations in your mind are different. What you read every day is different. Some of you are wiping your eyes and a tear is coming when I use the word Rahul Gandhi. I never said anything. It's your brain that's thinking it. So the ability to stimulate another brain, especially the brain of the audience, is the capacity of a good speaker. It's not only because it's funny. It's not only because people enjoy listening to it. It's because you can keep your audience engaged. If you keep your audience engaged, your message stays completely cemented. The audience goes back with the message. So what is humor? Humor is a medium. What is humor? Humor is something that all of you can use so that you can take your speaking to the next level. All of you are good speakers and all of us are very unique speakers. But you know what? The best of speakers are able to engage audiences for longer times. They're able to connect for a large number of minutes or hours. They're able to deliver a strong point. They're able to put that little spice on the soup, and they're able to deliver humor in such a way that people remember forever. You know, I was traveling by air. I think it was to Delhi. And I had a Toastmaster who I don't really remember, but he was traveling with me. I saw him staring at me and he was going on, you know, like looking through Google. And he was trying to compare the Google image and he was trying to look at me. So he wasn't very sure, but he's heard me speak in Qualcomm. So you know what happened? He suddenly comes up to me. I'm sitting on the aisle seat. There's somebody next to me. This boy is sitting on the other aisle seat. He just walks up to me and he says, "Are you Ushi, ma'am?" And I'm like, "Yes." He's saying, ma'am, you had come to Qualcomm, 2 Sundays ago. And I said, really? He said, can I take a selfie with you? And I said, yeah, why not? So he took a selfie with me. And the man next to me turns around and asks me, are you some kind of a celebrity? Because in which case, even I want a selfie with you. Can you imagine how people are? They don't even know you. They don't want to miss out. The fear of missing out is very high in audiences. So they like to be a part of all your journeys as you're going through it. And I asked this boy, how come you remember me so much? He's saying, ma'am, when you came to Qualcomm, you said something which we never forget. There are 3 levels of arrogance: I, Iyer, and Iyengar. And you know what? He's an Iyengar. He says, I'm the highest level of arrogance. That's why I related to you. Can you imagine? So it just means you got to be natural. You must think of something, even if it means it's a poor joke. The boy got hit with a Coke can, but he didn't get injured. Why? Coke is a soft drink. So it's like, oh, I mean, stupid jokes, but so what? It connects. And in today's Zamana, if you go to one of the premier institutions, they ask you, what is the meaning of this joke? My jokes have no meaning. My jokes are jokes. My jokes are original. They are situational. You may like it. You may not like it, but it's coming straight from my heart. 90% of the people will connect to it. They will not forget it. It's very, very situational. And that's why I'm saying that today it's easier to swipe on Tinder than swipe on the Cowin app. It's easier to get a date on Tinder than get a date on a Cowin app. So all of these things are something you got to sit and create. Even if you read it, you cannot forget it. And there are so many things that you can do. Suppose I say Mitro, you know what's coming next. It's like a cow's tail lifting. So you know what happens when a cow's tail lifts? You can imagine. Now some of you are sending me smileys. Some of you are in private telling me, I know who you're talking about. So I understand very well that you know who I'm talking about, but legally I can't be caught. So it's being very smart. Humor is everyone's possibility. I'm going to show you a PowerPoint so that you'll understand what I'm sharing here. Since you need to also do it, since you also need to introduce yourself in a very funny manner, maybe 4 or 5 of you can just think of one line to introduce yourself. So this is how I introduce myself. My name is Dr. Ushi Mohandas. I have 10 dogs, 2 children, 1 husband, but not necessarily in that order. So if you actually think of it, it's an intelligent one. It's also funny. It's slightly mocking. But at the end of the day, people actually think and start laughing because I keep telling them I have 10 dogs, 2 kids, and only 1 husband. So their imagination is like, oh, wow, imagine if she had 2 husbands. And this is exactly how the human brain works. So you must start working on it. Now, what am I going to do today? I'll share some tips. You take those tips with you. Next time you're preparing a speech, you at least use 1 or 2 of those tips so that your speech becomes a little more spiced up. Your speech becomes a little more funny. Your speech becomes a little more engaging and the audiences connect to it. You might be delivering a good message, but sometimes because you're long, you're boring, you're not humorous, people switch off. They disconnect. Humor is a strong connect. And I think all of us should practice it. Don't force it, but practice it. Learn that it's not something that you should force to so that it sounds or looks funny because people will forget it. But if it's in context, then people will never ever forget it. I hope I'm clear to everybody. I hope my pace is okay. I hope my volume is okay. You need to give me a thumbs up. You need to give me a heart. You need to give me whatever you can, and I'm good with it. Right, great. So this is called a response. If an audience is a dumb audience without responding, then the speaker becomes like Buddha. We'll practice silence today. And that's not why we are here. So I want extreme interactions. Give me good expressions. Come close to your cameras. Please switch on your cameras. Don't go and make chai. Don't go and make masala chai. Don't sit there with your biscuit and keep munching and sleeping somewhere with the phone on your chest where I'm talking some sense, right? So I want all of you to keep your cameras switched on as much as possible. I'm going to share a PPT to all my friends who are here, and I know you have very important meetings. If you're not funny, there can be a lot of things that can go wrong with you. Only your cameras on, not your microphones. So there are 2 choices in good speaking. You can be powerful, you can be straightforward. This lady is going and telling the other one, listen, you ignorant little twit, I need a connecting flight to Vienna, okay, for my return trip, or heads will roll here, which means you're trying to show your might. Look what the flight attendant is doing, sends bags to Mongolia. So for everything that you're speaking, you have to be very responsible, otherwise there'll be a consequence. So this is on a lighter note. So this is a bit of a dark humor, but believe me, if people love you, it's because they understand you're good. If people dislike you, it's because they take some more time to understand that you're good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's easy to write a speech, but it's not so easy to make it humorous. And that's why I keep telling people it's not easy to make a speech humorous. You got to follow a recipe, just like making brilliant bread. If you want to make brilliant bread, you just cannot put in a recipe. There has to be practice, there has to be patience, there has to be a long waiting period before finally you deliver. And even then, you're not very sure because the audience feedback will come to you. And then only you will understand whether you have been successful at creating, at completely constructing, and then delivering something humorous. Humor has to be thought about in the beginning when you begin your speaking. Humor has to be thought about completely at the beginning of construction. It cannot be forced in. And here, very clearly, I'm going to tell you that humor makes people happy. And it's been proven through science. It's been proven through research. Anything that makes a person smile, even if it's a nasty one line. I hope you know CPR, because after seeing you, I might faint any moment. So, if you want a pickup line, if you're going to come in here and say, excuse me, I forgot my phone number, can I have yours? There's a very likely chance that someone might give it to you on the spot. But you're just being very creative and constructive over there. Humor is a lubricant. Humor is a lubricant that avoids friction between the speaker and the audiences. Now, why humor? Not only because it makes you laugh, because you can deliver your message more effectively if people can relate to the jokes, if people can relate to the fun. It keeps you engaged. Once I relate to you, I'm more engaged in the conversations. Using humor is one of the best ways to connect with your audience. I have tried numerous methods, but I found out that humor is the strongest. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in an audience where you had a speaker who had you chuckling throughout the talk? You will never look at the time. You will never think like, "Arey Baba, should the speaker die or should I die?" You're not going to look here and say, "I wish the speech ends or the speaker dies." You won't sit in an office and have to listen to a PPT where you wish this boss goes home and gets beaten up by his wife. And this is exactly how we start feeling sometimes, because people are extremely boring. They're extremely serious. And you can convey even serious messages with a dash of humor. And for that, you need to understand that it's not only about conveying messages and connect. When your audience connects with you, fellow Toastmasters and guests, they retain your messages. Iyer and Iyengar has never been forgotten. Now it's 4 years and he hasn't forgotten it. And he associates it with Dr. Ushi Mohandas. And I'm just trying to tell you that any message that you're giving in strongly, you will associate with a person if it's meant to be a little humorous. You can also have many other ways of connecting. Today, we are talking about humor. So I'm quickly sharing with you that apart from leaving your audience with a positive impression about who you are as a person. Now, today, when I saw Madam Syed, I knew she's a chirpy, bubbly, happy person. Rohan was smiling a little bit. I think he's not married. So that might be one of the reasons. But what I'm saying is, all of you, I'm not even sure why. Manoj has been married very long. That's why he's smiling. Because now he knows all the secrets. So marriage is a very favorite topic in humorists because it has a lot of experiences. For those of you who are outside the cage, you want to get in. And those of you who are inside the cage, you want to get out. So, there are thousands of jokes over there. They're saying that you're never complete without marrying, but once you marry, you're finished. So if you use the word complete and finished, it's again language. So your language skills have to be really superior. Now, what does adding humor do? Besides laughing, besides engagement, besides everything that we discussed about, fellow Toastmasters, it builds rapport, it wins you friends. You can emphasize your key points using one-liners. You can always use one-liners, which are funny. You can keep your audience engaged throughout your speaking. You can make it more relatable. This has happened to me in my life. Oh, it's happened to you also, is it? Let's become friends. And this is exactly how audiences look at you. And finally, come on a Sunday in the afternoon, nobody wants to listen to how India can prosper. Nobody wants to listen to the economic situation of this country. You want something light. You want something funny. You want something very personal. So personal anecdotes and stories, they make a very, very big impact on everybody's minds. Speaking is always from a mind to another mind. So if you want to engage another mind for a longer time, remember, humor is the lubricant. You have to use that lubricant to avoid the friction of long hours of listening, to get bored with the same repetitive topic, to engage in audiences so that you create rapport and they are with you as you move along, whatever you're trying to convey as a message. Some tips to create humor. Now, I've created a few tips. I've read a lot. I'm in this business for many 20, 30 years. I might have picked up a couple of tips from fellow Toastmasters. I've been enough in the space of humor to understand a lot about humor. Now, from everything that I've known and understood, I've compiled it into something extremely easy for all of us. The first way, now people ask me, what are the ways in which I can inculcate humor? The first way is called the literal meaning. The literal meaning. Now, when you say literal meaning, for example, this is a favorite joke of mine. I've always been an outstanding student. I always stood outside my classroom. So outstanding is literally stand out. So you need to find a word which has a literal meaning. For example, Manoj Nair is a very tall man. So everyone in his class looked up to him. All right. So if you don't have to say Manoj is a tall guy, you can just say everyone looked up to Manoj Nair. He was the tallest in the class. So then what happens? You're stating the literal meaning. And the literal meaning definitely adds humor. I'm making it very short so that you don't get confused. Remember the literal meaning. Next, everybody enjoys it when you're self-deprecating. If I make fun of myself, okay, if I make fun of myself, everyone enjoys it. I have a friend who's not having too much of hair now, and he always keeps telling me that once I had a small face and lots of hair to comb. Today, I have no hair and lots of face to wash. So if you actually imagine it, I had a small face and lots of hair to comb, and now I have lots of face to wash and absolutely no hair to comb. So if you look at it, you can understand he's making fun of himself. So it's always very beautiful. I have another friend who goes to the gym, but he's always very obese. So he always says, I want to become like Salman Khan. So I went to the gym and I worked and I worked and I worked and I worked. And now I'm like Salman Khan. But mind you, not the Salman Khan at the age of 50, the Salman Khan at the age of 75. And that's exactly how you take a story forward. It's called self-deprecating. There are many ways. There are many ways where you can build a story. You can make fun of yourself and say that, who says I'm not in shape? Even round is a shape. And everyone is like, yeah, she's making fun of herself. You need to say that just because I have gray hair doesn't mean I'm wise. Doesn't mean I'm intelligent. It just means that I have silver in my hair, gold in my teeth, and lead in my bones. So, if you're going to speak like that, people will remember it. You're playing with language. You're playing with lightness. You're also conveying serious messages of wisdom. Silver in your hair, gold in your teeth, and lead in your bones. All three metals are there with you. And one of them is very, very precious. So self-deprecating, the first one, which I mentioned, the literal meaning. The third one, try the compare and contrast method. Try the compare and contrast method. Okay. So I always wanted a wife like Aishwarya Rai. But those who looked like Aishwarya hadn't passed their 10th standard. And those who were a PhD looked more like Mayawati. So if you really want to use names, feel free. But if you want to use an example, then you can just choose your own examples and now stop getting buttered and say, oh, she's that, she's this, and I'll become an activist and I'll kill her and all that stuff. In today's world, everybody gets buttered at the drop of a hat. It's just in good fun. Compare and contrast is a beautiful message. Like, for example, I'm going to tell you, hey, you know what? I have a friend like a radio station. I just have to switch her on and she goes on and on and on and on. You know, the best part about her? There are no commercial breaks even. So you can imagine, right? So in a radio station, there are commercial breaks, but in her, there are no commercial breaks. What am I doing? I'm comparing. I'm contrasting two situations. In a radio station, there are commercial breaks. She's like a radio. She talks so much, but then there are no commercial breaks. And basically, that is exactly how you do a compare and a contrast. The best example, which I just created in the afternoon, was who said finding God was difficult? Finding a slot on Cowin is 10 times more difficult. So, you know, you can understand the difficulty level now. What am I doing? Comparing and contrasting. And that's how you need to keep this in mind. The first one, literal meaning. Second, self-deprecation. Third, compare and contrast. The fourth one, fellow Toastmasters, is called exaggeration. This is very easy, but it takes a lot of practice. Now, we have a tendency to be very brief. We just say that, you know, my children make me happy. Or now, for example, in a Toastmaster club, I'll give you an example. You know, there's this gentleman who came in and he said, can you imagine if the name Manoj Nair is called out at the World Public Speaking Championship and this guy goes up on stage and he's in the finals and as he climbs the stage and is ready to speech, the master of ceremony stops Manoj Nair and says, hey, Manoj, you cannot speak today because you haven't paid your membership fees in LA 1924. You want to be a world public speaking champion? You start with paying your club membership fees. That's a beautiful exaggeration. Instead of saying, please renew your membership. So there are people who are storytellers. There are people who can create a beautiful story. There can be so much of exaggeration. For example, when it rains in Bangalore, Bangalore becomes like Venice. You don't need cars, but you can use boats. What is that? It's a solid exaggeration. You'll never need a boat in Bangalore, but this is how we exaggerate. So exaggeration is a fantastic form of humor. And at the end of the day, I bought a small credit card for my wife. She spent so much in one day that today she's hanging in the Hall of Fame in the MasterCard room. So you can imagine she spent so much in one day that she's hanging in the Hall of Fame in the MasterCard section. So, you know, you can make your own story. You can say whatever it is, it may not be right, it may not be the truth, but you can add a lot of beautiful things and make exaggeration. So there I go, literal meaning, self-deprecation, exaggeration, compare and contrast. A very important trait of great humorous people is wordplay. Your words make your world. My words make my world. I'm called Dr. Tung Fu for no reason, except for the fact that I use strange words. For example, hey, Rohan, I'm so exhaustipated. And he'll wonder, exhaustipated? And I'll tell him, too tired to give a shit. And that is exhaustipated. And that's exactly dyskinesia. I came here, but I don't know why I came there. So you can create your own words. You can use beautiful words. You can actually, you know, create something based on two words. You can actually read somewhere. You can research. You can add wordplay. You can add that little spice in all your speaking by using beautiful words. Like I said, he got hit by Coke. Thank God, no injuries. Coke is a soft drink. So what if he gets hit by whiskey? That's no soft drink. So, you know, you can actually play with those same words. You can actually use so many words. Now imagine if Rohan is now, or anybody who's not married is now going to get married. And I'm going to go there and tell him, hey, you know what? Congratulations on termination of your isolation. I'm in full appreciation of your determination. I hope it doesn't end up in frustration, in long isolation. So what is this? So many words. You can play with words. You can play with so many words. For example, now, if I'm going to say, my hair is in recession, my stomach is in inflation, totally I'm in depression. So this is all words. You have to learn wordplay. And you have to learn grammatically how to place it correctly. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, too many quotations are very irritating more than inspiring. Many people use quote after quote after quote after quote. They themselves don't know what they're quoting. But if you twist a quote, it becomes beautiful. It becomes humor to your speaking. So don't forget literal meaning, self-deprecation, exaggeration, compare, contrast, wordplay, and now twisting quotes. It's one of the best ways to add humor. When you twist a quote, what happens? You make the most inspirational speech ever because people never forget that quote. They will not forget that you twisted it. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Boring quote. An apple a day, if thrown hard enough, keeps everybody away. Interesting. So you'll have to make the switch. And that's exactly how you would use statements like, behind every successful man is a woman. And behind every unsuccessful man are two women. So if you look at that and you can imagine the context and your brain starts imagining. So what does humor do? It triggers the buds of imagination. And good speakers always trigger great imagination. Now, if one door closes and another door opens, you talk about opportunity, right? So I use this one saying, if one door closes and the other door opens in your house, then your house must be haunted. So, everyone starts laughing because they didn't expect that. So you need to actually start doing a lot of things like that. It's called twisting quotes. Another one is a very beautiful, and for me, the most effective. It's called setup, pause, and punch. You got to make a setup. You got to pause for a second and give in the final punch. And for this, you need to have a little bit of skill. This is actually the expertise of master speakers. You need to understand this. Like I said, take my spouse. Pause and say, please. And you really understand, even though it's just 5-6 words, what is the meaning of that. Now, there's a friend of mine, he's a very humorous guy. So he always tells me, before marriage, I bought the book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And he says, I read it word to word. I read it line to line. I read it many times, page to page, and then I got married. What is this? Setup. And I stop. What is that? Pause. And then I say, after I got married and I stayed with my wife for maybe 6 months, I realized for sure that men are from Mars, but my wife is definitely not from Venus. So, what is that? You're actually setting up a nice story, you're pausing, and then you're coming in with a beautiful punchline. So that's exactly left to you. There are many examples I can give you, but at the end of the day, if you look at it, it's like saying nothing lasts forever. Will you be my nothing? So, it's highly humiliating, but you can be like that. You can be sarcastic, you can be funny, you can pull somebody's leg. And that's why it's called a setup, a pause, and then a punch. Fellow Toastmasters, very quickly, I'll finish the PPT and keep it open for open discussion. It's called the rule of 3. So you got to introduce, it's very much like the setup, the pause, and the punch, but the rule of 3 is slightly different over here. The rule of 3 is something where probably you talk about content in consequential order. For example, the judges in Toastmaster contests are very consistent. They're consistently punctual, they're consistently sincere, they're consistently present, and they consistently choose those undeserving people. So what does it mean? It's the rule of 3. You're giving an intro. Judges are very consistent. And then you're expanding it. Consistent, consistent, consistent. And what are you doing? You're giving the outro. Which means as I'm leaving that sentence, I need to give in an outro. It's called the rule of 3. It's a beautiful one. The best part about marrying in Vegas, the flowers, the music, the casinos, and the divorce. So, you understand what I'm trying to say? So you bring in the outro, and that outro is what should hit it. Now, like I said, these are the few ways in which you can add humor. Stating the obvious is beautiful. Imagine you're looking at a pram and there's a notice which is written over there saying, please fold before removing baby. It's understood, right? So please open before placing baby. So what is that? You're stating the obvious. And people love the obvious. People love the obvious. For example, my boss said, have a good day. So I went home. So if you stop like that and say natural things in the middle of your speaking, in the middle of your anecdotal expressions, it makes a huge, huge, huge difference. Now I went to a grocery store. I entered the grocery store and I saw this beautiful notice on the glass door of the grocery store. It says, open the door before entering. So you do open the door before entering, right? So you have a notice there and people will laugh. Obviously, the idea is to connect with people and get them to lighten a little bit, get them to relax and understand your message. Ladies and gentlemen, use stories and funny stories, any anecdotes from the things that have happened to you in real life. You will never, ever forget it. I want you to remember that you will never ever forget humor, especially when it happens to you, especially when you think about it, especially when you create it, not when you copy, cut, and badly paste it. Try and make your own humor. Fair and Lovely has neither made anybody fair nor lovely. Axe deodorant, those who have applied, not even a mosquito has followed them. So, when you say things like this, you'll never ever forget it. You need to understand these things because coffee has a tough time in my house. Every day it gets mugged. So there are 3 mugs in my house. So every day 3 mugs, right? So every day coffee has a tough time in my house. It gets mugged. So you need to create those kind of things. They're very easy to relate to. If used correctly, people understand that beautifully. I was married to Mr. Right. Little did I know his first name was Always. So you need to, create it. And that's why speech writing is very important. Scripting is really important. If you're capable of mentally scripting, then like I do, you can mentally script a lot of things. And at the end of the day, remember all what I shared probably in time with you. And then I'll answer your questions if you have any. In the interest of time, this is the max that we can share. Don't forget everything, self-deprecation, compare, contrast, set up, pause, and punch. I'll share the PPT with you guys. You can use it. You can create your speech, and I'm sure that you'll go to the next level of good speaking. You have to experiment from today. Humor is the key to master speaking. Humor is the key. Go to my social media pages. Just go and click on the audiences. You'll never find audiences with the mouth closed. Their heads are rolled back, their mouths are open. The photographers have a tough time capturing it because they're forever laughing. They're hitting each other. They're grabbing each other. They grab me. They come running to me because that's how laughter is. It's high impact energy. And you must understand all of this before I explain the mistakes that you can avoid. One is timing. If you're not good with timing, you have to ensure that you practice and get your timing right. Please don't say Coke is toxic to your health. The joke dies. So you must understand what you're going to say there. You must prep properly. Take my wife. Instead of that, if you say, I want to take your wife, it's going to be very toxic. So it's a risk that the speaker ends up taking. So it's important to experiment. Now, some people laugh at their own jokes and they keep like, after cracking a joke, and the audience is like, what's so funny? So you need to be very careful because a speaker cannot laugh at his own or her own jokes. So first is timing. The second one you got to avoid is laughing at your own jokes. Don't get caught up with the wrong word choices. If you're not comfortable with the word, please don't use it. The other day, there was a Toastmaster who was going on saying, I enjoyed the charisma. I enjoyed the charisma. There was somebody sitting next to me who was hearing. He said, when is Karina coming? It's charisma, not karishma, charisma. Right? So if you say charisma, charisma, the chap next to me was asking, so when is Karina coming? So there'll be some smart asses in the audience as well who might think like that and internally be smiling at you, thinking that you don't know anything. Be careful. Always focus on the script. Don't ask questions and lose control of your script. There was one speech, I can't remember where it was, but there was a speaker who came in and said, Do you hate lizards and rats? And that girl said, no, I love them. And the speaker forgot his speech because he thought the girl will say, I hate lizards and rats. And the girl said, I love them. There was a gentleman in our own Toastmaster club who once came in and said, ladies and gentlemen, what can I do for you? And he thought he was being smart. And one of the audience said, sing the national anthem. And he didn't know what to say because it was the beginning of the meeting, right? It was not so compulsory then and things like that. Now, don't miss on exaggeration. When you're exaggerating, just be very careful. It's not a tall tale. So be extremely careful when you're exaggerating. Exaggeration cannot miss reality. It has to add to reality. And that's exactly what you will do. So those are some of the mistakes. Don't laugh at your own jokes. Don't skip timing. Practice. Choice the words. Very important. Don't get distracted. The other day, there was a Toastmaster meeting where there's a lady wearing a lapel pin here. The MC was very, very nervous and anxious. He was staring at that lady's blouse and the lapel pin like this. The next speaker was coming. He wanted to tell her, ma'am, please remove the lapel mic. Instead, he looked at her and said, ma'am, can you remove your blouse? And it's recorded. It's very recent. And everyone started laughing. Now, in fear, sometimes you say the wrong things. It can be very consequential. You can be held responsible for it. You must watch out for your words. There was a gentleman who came up to me in Kerala once after my speech and said, madam, you are very sarcastic. He meant sarcastic, not sarcastic. So we have different regions. Like in Gujarat, if you go and somebody says, I'm going to give you my pain, please don't run for your life. They mean pain, pen. So they call a pen pain. So you got to be really careful, okay? So you have to keep all these geographic boundaries, culture boundaries. You got to go research culture. You've got to go and do a lot of cultural homework before you go to a Muslim country and tell them, hey, you know what? Give me a pork curry. They're going to take a slipper and give it to you where it really hurts. So you got to be very careful. Culturally, you must do your homework. You must actually be everywhere thorough. You must understand your audiences and tweak humor to suit audiences. Now, a final few words about humor. You must incorporate it naturally, make it very relevant to context. Are you informing? Are you persuading? Are you entertaining? Or are you inspiring? Based on this, you got to customize to the audience that you're speaking. If they're children, you know what to do. If they're middle-aged, you know what to say. If they're elderly people, you need to crack a joke which is relevant. Bring in humor which is naturally incorporated. Do your cultural research. I already mentioned to you, even across regions in India, you must be very careful when you come in and say funny things. You can't go in and say that, go worship the cow, she's your mother. There's a risk to your life in that statement. And that's a risk you've got to take based on the audiences. Fellow Toastmasters, it's been wonderful sharing with all of you. At the end of the day, the audience did not come only to be entertained. They need to learn from your expertise. I believe that you might have learned a few things from my expertise. If you have any questions, you should ask me. Otherwise, thank you, Rohan, for having me, Delhi Toastmasters, the entire Toastmaster fraternity, all my friends from all Toastmasters clubs across India. Thank you so much for coming in here and making time on a Sunday afternoon. My heartfelt gratitude to you. Thank you very, very much. I want all of you to now ask me if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm most grateful to my friends from Twitter, from Facebook, a couple of you have joined. So probably if you want, during these times, all I can send you is a nice socially distanced hug. And I think if you guys were live, I should have come and hugged you and broken a couple of your rib bones. And I believe that, at some stage, you got to understand that humor is for everybody. But I'm so sad and sorry to say that we set our benchmark very low and achieve it. I want you to set your benchmark a little higher. And even if you don't achieve it once or twice, it's better that you set it high and miss it once or twice. And then slowly you'll get there. So please, from today, start incorporating all those tips which I've shared with you. And please write to she@gmail.com. I've shared my WhatsApp number on the chat. I'll share the PowerPoint as well right now. Download it, keep it with you. And if you have any questions, you should ask me. Otherwise, I believe that I've done great justice to the topic. I want you to ask me questions if you have any. Otherwise, yes, I'll call it a day and hope
Excuse me, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, Dr. Ushi Mohan Das, for that wonderful workshop. Every moment, every bit, every word was as if like I have never learned it, and I should unlearn and relearn it. So let's first of all applause for Dr. Ushi Mohan Das. Let it go on so that we can show our thankfulness, our gratitude for her presence.
Thank you so much.
Now it will be question and answer session where we will showcase the questions where the audience already had put it forward on their registrations. So now there will be question and answer, and I would request Dr. Ushi to help us answer certain queries that the audience had already with you. So the first question is, if I can read it out to you, Dr. Ushi.
Yes, please.
Okay. So the first question goes like this: making people laugh on a virtual platform is so different to a physical stage. What elements of humor should a speaker focus upon? This is a question by Suhas.
Exactly what I mentioned. All what I did right now was virtual, right? Why should you be on a real platform? Energy can be transferred even on virtual platforms. On virtual platform, it would be much better to start becoming a little more focused on wordplay, a little more focused on exaggerations, a little more focused on self-deprecating humor. Everything that I made fun of about me, everyone was laughing. They say if people have small feet, please watch out for their tummies. Things don't grow well in the shade.
Yeah.
So definitely, you need to understand these kind of things, and whether it's real or whether it's virtual. In the virtual, wordplay will be very high, comparing and contrasting will be very high. Certain obvious statements, twisting a quote, all of this, what I discussed, is possible on a virtual platform. On a physical stage, the only thing that you can do is improv, your gesturing, your expressions, all of these things. But otherwise, you can do tonality, you can do a lot of fun stuff, you can say a lot of humorous stuff virtual, and definitely it's possible with all the tools that we discussed today.
Thank you so much. That I'm sure will help a lot of us build our humorous speech. And we have a lot of questions which have already been here. We are listed here. So second one is how to make people cry in tears, happy tears, with the humor in speech. What should we do? Srinivas Gupta has asked this question from you.
Okay, so there was this elderly lady who came to a bank, Srinivas, and she called a gentleman who was as young as you and said, "Can you check my balance?" And he gave her one twist, and she almost fell down. And then he realized that probably she meant bank balance. When she said, "Can you check my balance?" this guy just twisted her in there. So what I'm trying to say is, like, these are jokes which will make people cry either out of joy or out of sadness. You can crack a poor joke like that and make people cry. Natural crying happens when you have sessions where you're narrating stories of your life, where you're actually giving a humorous speech totally, when you're actually coming in with a message which is funny, you want the audience to laugh, and you're doing it. You cannot come with a purpose to make people cry in tears. Crying with tears and crying in tears is a very natural, spontaneous element. And that can happen continuously as you're going on, giving this speech. And that imagination bud keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. Suppose I asked you, why do men like smart women? Because opposites attract. So many of the men in that will not like it, but all the women will laugh definitely. So, you need to be really understanding that, but you cannot come with the purpose of making people cry in tears. That has to happen very naturally. Your focus should be on your script, on your context and your message. Not, I'm coming here to make you laugh in tears. That's a stand-up comedian. It's not a humorous speaker.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wonderfully answered, I'm sure. Yes, we should try this trick. So next question is from Sakuntala, and she asked that should a humorous speech have a message? And that's really a good one, I would say.
You should have a message. Otherwise, I think it's really a waste of time. If you're just coming and rambling some jokes without any intention, then it can be interspersed with a message. It need not be a very strong or a serious message, but it must have a message. You must find out, are you speaking to entertain? Are you speaking to inform? Are you speaking to persuade? Or are you speaking just to inspire? It's called a pie. persuade, inspire, inform, entertain. These are the only 4 reasons why you speak to people. And if you're just speaking without any purpose, then I think you should be rather shutting up. And you must speak with the message. If the message doesn't mean that life is great and all that. The message can be very simple. The message can be so many things that we discussed today. You know, you can always like say that all of you friends, I hope you're like radios. I hope you never stop talking, and I hope you never have commercial breaks. So that too is a message. Listening is a great skill. Stop being a radio. Allow commercial breaks. So, you know, you need to have, you know, some kind of message for the audience. Otherwise, the audience feels that their time has been eaten into. So I believe, in my personal opinion, there should be a message. The message may be light or the message may be serious. It all depends on the purpose.
Very well said, Dr. Ushi, and I totally agree with you. Without a message, everything is a waste.
Yes.
So next question is from Ajay Philip, and I'm sure you know him. How can the speaker overcome a surprise response from audience? For example, did not expect a laugh, still audience did, or expected it, and audience did not react. So in this, how to overcome this kind of a surprise response?
Why should you overcome it? As a speaker, you must be ready with your script. You cannot get distracted. All you have to do is wait for the response to end and continue. If there is a surprise response, for example, now if I come in and say I fell from the 2nd floor and I broke my bum, everyone's going to laugh, though I broke my butt bone. It's the way you say it. And if everyone's going to laugh, then definitely human beings we have this vicarious pleasure when something happens to another person, we tend to laugh at it. If you fall in your house, your spouse will first laugh at you.
Yes.
Then only they'll come and give you a hand to pick you up. If a child falls, the other child will immediately laugh at the sibling. It's not because they don't care, it's because that's a natural response. The speaker who's strong will always stick to script. They will never get distracted, their focus will be strong. And they'll understand that they should handle the situation using transitions. A transition is a brilliant way. Say, wow, I didn't really expect that. But guess what? Life is full of surprises. And at my age, I have very few surprises. So you can actually just, turn it around, make it conversational, bring people into your arena, and then finally drive home the point and bring them back to your speaking. I hope you've been able to throw some light. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I completely agree with your point that why should we think about this unexpected expression? Rather, audience should also be ready with it. And you just helped me remember one memory when I was walking down with my fiance on the Brigade Road in Bangalore, and he said something in English. The word was opportunist, but he said opportunistic, and I was laughing in the middle of the road on that chauraha, I would say. And then he was like, "Are you making fun of me?" I was like, "No, you said it so." So this humor happens like this as well. Very well said. Thank you. Our next question is: for a speech, are expressions important or the content? Do you need to use sarcasm for humor? It's a question by Sheila.
No, Sheila, sarcasm is the answer to human stupidity. It's not everyone's cup of tea. You can be very offensive when you're sarcastic if you're not good at it. So when you want to be sarcastic, as somebody said, it's called sarcastic. So if you really want to be caustic and you really want to be sarcastic, it's an art. Everyone cannot be sarcastic, and sarcasm needs to be coming naturally to you. It cannot be learned as a trained art. For a speech, expressions are important or content, both are important. Expressions are important, superiorly important, so is content. If you don't have good content, then what are you doing? You're wasting your time and other people's time. Preparation should be 110%. And that should be done 100 times so that the speaker never forgets what they're supposed to convey and don't get distracted. So expressions are important. Expressions are like the vehicle through which your content is delivered. If you don't have expressions, then your content becomes boring. Why do you need a person when you're just content heavy? The content can be sent to people, right? Through email. Expressions are like emotions being added to content. and expressions are the vehicle in which content is delivered. So I would say that both are really important. One without the other is actually not a great idea.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And yes, we must learn that. All right. We have another question and questions pouring in. How to write puns by Tanya. So, how do we write
You
puns?
write puns, that's all. If you want any, you should ask me. I'll give you enough and more what we write. So, what is the difference between a man who runs out of a ladies' hostel and who runs out of a fire? What is the difference between, if you look at this, one, if you look at a fat man running a marathon, can you imagine a fat man running a marathon? He's wearing a chaddi, like a shorts, and he's running a marathon. Can you imagine the difference between someone ordinary running a marathon and a fat man now? So what will be the difference now? You have to imagine like this, and then you can write one runs in short bursts, the other one runs in burst shots. So you just have to play with words and put it in together. Puns are there in plenty. It's supposed to be the poorest form of humor. But what the heck? There's nothing called rich humor and poor humor. If you're going to hit it as humor, humor is humor. You can choose whatever you want, and with confidence, if you go and deliver it, then it's like anger without enthusiasm is depression. So the same way puns, you have to learn to write it yourself. I cannot teach you that. I can write puns the same way as you should practice with triggering your imagination.
We can look for some puns here and there and then
You
get
can, you can,
inspired.
you can. There are plenty online, but I'm not somebody who would borrow things online. I believe in originality because online things becomes common. Everyone quotes it. There's nothing new about it. So you can pun, you can use limericks, you can do so many things.
Yeah, we can get definitely inspired and inspired by observing people. That's where
Yes,
the
and
real
write
power
it
comes.
down in very good language.
Correct. Thank you so much, ma'am. Our next question is from Bala Kirtika. In what way writing humorously differs from speaking humorously, and how can it be cultivated?
Without writing, you cannot speak humorously. If you're mentally very, very capable, and if you have a meditated mind, then you can immediately, without writing, also speak humorously. But you'll never be able to get it in form. You'll be talking like you'll be stitching a salwar kameez and jeans together. And finally, there won't be any particular shape. You can't have fusion. A good script precedes great speaking because your mind is getting prepped and prepared. If you don't, generally, where majority of the people are not good with extemporary speaking, then you have to write down all your cues, as we call it, cues. If you have your cues, you can always use your cues and you can cultivate around that. And if you're good at it, then what's the difference? You write humorously, people read and laugh. You speak humorously, people read, listen and laugh. So finally, the end result is going to be laughter. The end result is going to be better engagement. The end result is going to be stronger engagement and great rapport. So both ways, I mean, the choice is completely yours. If you want to go extemporary, the danger is that you might forget. The danger is that you will not have it in order. And the human brain is actually programmed to think in system.
Very well said, and that's how we should look at it. I believe there was somebody. Let me just have a look at the chat. There was somebody asking about. Would you like to suggest humorous books? Sahil Bansal said this.
No,
He has.
no. I will
Okay.
not suggest or recommend any books. You can actually go through enough of content. And if you read a book, it's only information. The more you have information, the more the left brain grows, more logic increases, and more the right brain stops functioning. The more the right brain function, the better a speaker you are. So you need to actually get your right brain triggered, your memories in your right brain, your emotion, your complete subconscious, your complete scripting, originality, everything is in the right brain. So why would I suggest a book so that you keep reading? There's so much of content on Google, and Google University and WhatsApp University doctorates are not what we need.
Absolutely.
Real life doctorates are what you need. Be a keen observer of your life. Be a keen observer of people around you. When you're in public places, be a keen observer, make notes. I always carry books with me. Even when you guys are speaking, I make a note. And you cannot afford to make, like just let go and just think that I'll remember it. You will not. Anything that you hear within 6 hours, you will forget.
I totally echo with that thought of yours. I also carry a small notebook and a pen in my bag. So when I'm outside, I may get inspired by something, or I may see something which I want to write. It can be funny, it can be emotional, or anything. So, yes, that's a very good tip from Dr. Ushi.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a question. Can we add or start our speech, our humorous speech, with some funny riddle?
Funny?
Riddle.
Yeah, why not? You can. That's a risk you've got to take. The choices you make are definitely the choices that you make. So there is a small indirect message to me. Madam, please suggest the humorous book Unsuitable Boy by Karan Johar.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if he's a boy or what he is. But at the end of the day, he's happy and gay. So I'm okay with it.
And that was absolutely wonderful. That pun intended was absolutely right on the mark. Thank you, ma'am. And we'll take the last question of the day from the chat. It's from Sakuntala. She says, should we have a message before writing a humorous speech? Should we keep it in mind? I believe she means that.
If you are going nowhere, you'll be there every day. If you don't know what you want to speak about, it's better you shut up. So you need to really script your message around and script your speech around your message. And if you cannot do that, then there is 0 point in actually just doing anything, including your opening body, conclusion, and your voice modulation and your physical body and all that stuff. Nobody cares a damn about all that. They want a message. They want to remember you as a person. They want rapport. They want to find out what's in it for me. And that's why I tell you, take 2 of the 3 points that I discussed and just ensure that you go out there and then you start incorporating maybe 2 out of the 5, maybe 3 out of the 5, and see how it's working for you. And if you're comfortable doing it, then I'm sure that probably it's a great thing to do. Otherwise, it's going to be really boring. I've
Thank you
actually
so
shared
much.
the PPT. Okay? I've uploaded the PPT. You can download it. Go to your
Okay.
chat. The PPT is uploaded. You can just download it. You will get all the methods that I discussed straight on the files. Go to the files and just download it onto your system.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks a lot, Dr. Ushi, for this amazing, such a thrilling, full of laughters and splits all through your workshop. That is something that I will remember from today. And I see that all the thanks are pouring in onto the Zoom chat as well. We are really thankful, grateful, and it's a big word, a small word for a big thing that you just came here and helped us with this wonderful workshop. We are really grateful for that. We look forward to see you soon, anytime. Please do join. And it's just a small, I would say, I don't know, a dream. Maybe you can join a club meeting someday. Please do. We'd love to see you there. I don't know how your schedule is, but yes, we definitely love to host you there as well. Please join us anytime. And thank you all for joining us today. Today evening, Sunday evening, has been worthwhile because we heard Dr. Mohan Das, our Tung Fu master. All right. All
Okay,
right.
Rohan, do me a favor. So just take the reviews. There's lots on the chat box. So remember, I want a completion poster. You can just put it all and send it like how I put it up.
Sure.
Yes.
Guys, thank you very much. All my friends, Toastmasters. I'm getting so many, there are 36 private messages. So thank you so much, everybody. Yes, I don't repeat the jokes. You can ask my Toastmasters who are listening. 90% of my jokes are not repeated. It's all very situational and it is all based on what I need for the time being. So a lot of people are asking me, do you repeat your jokes? How can you remember so many jokes? How could every sentence be a joke? How could every sentence be funny? Um, I want this workshop again. Can you do many more workshops every time? No, unless Rohan has me over, I won't come. So I come only because of the people. I don't come because of Toastmasters. And that's why I keep telling people that, everyone has a DTM. I'm somebody who is like, ATM, an any topic master. So no distinguished and all that stuff. I'm not distinguished at all. If I'm angry, I'm going to come here and call you MCBC. I'm not going to come and crack a joke here. So
Okay.
definitely understand what is in my mind, because you need to speak straight. You need to speak to the people. You need to speak from your heart, and you have to think with your head. The day the head and heart connect, you become a brilliant speaker. You can keep engaged. You don't need any, the prep happens mentally. There's so much of experience. I do about at least 40 hours of speaking in a week. And
Amazing.
that's very intense speaking. You're speaking to very intelligent audiences who are coming to ask you questions, the answers to which they already know. They want to test you. So, that's
Right.
the kind of people. So people are unique, and people sometimes study and come to ask you questions to see if you study. So, there are challenging audiences as well. So, they're all kinds of people. They're critics. The first thing they'll do is like look at you like this. So all human beings are critics. And there's nothing called constructive criticism or not. You criticize me, you'll get criticism back. And that's why I keep telling people that unless you trust somebody, please don't go criticizing anybody. If somebody asks you in good faith, you tell them what is it they can do to improve. Don't just come in there and say, I'm a Toastmaster, I want to criticize you, it can cost you your teeth. It's as simple as
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right.
It's easier said than done. Give it to me, give it to me. Tell me how I spoke today. Then you give it to them, they'll be like, horrible lady. She told me the truth. She doesn't know me. She doesn't know my background information. And he'll start crying and write letters to Toastmasters saying that, this lady criticized me. So, it's like very easy to say things, but it's very difficult to mean what you say what you mean.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Be true to
So,
what
I mean,
you
I want all of you to join me on Instagram. I want all of you to keep in touch. I met Rohan once. Now he's a great friend. He's also a great supporter. He helps me so much, and he's always around. I know that I can reach him for anything that I need. So I want few more friends. In my Toastmaster club, also all my friends are here, and those who are not here also, they are not my friends. So these will go and tell them the message. So everyone acts busy, and I believe that busy people always have time.
abs right.
Those who
That's
mismanage their tasks, they keep complaining, no time, no time, no time. So we were quite a few in number. We are just 10 plus now. I think we've done a fabulous job. And we are almost 60 of us even now. Okay, not bad. We've all stayed back. So I want you to write to me at Gmail, join me on Instagram, come to Twitter, and all my friends who listen to me. I hope there's a lot of value added. The PowerPoint is there for you. Any more questions, feel free to write to me. This is one of my favorite areas, and I've done very well for myself. You can go and check out my audiences. In fact, when I talk about death, also people are laughing.
that's amazing. And we love to hear you, Dr. Ushi, again and again.
Come to our
I'm
club.
surely
We
going
meet
to
on
join you.
Wednesday. Amelia, come to our club also. And we meet on Wednesday at 7 p.m. So all of you are welcome to LA 1924. Do come on Wednesdays. We'll share the link with Rohan. If anybody is keen on coming by, earlier we used to give people samosas. Sorry, today we'll give you virtual samosas. So you can come and just enjoy chatting and listening to some great speeches and some very highly disciplined people in action. So do come by to LA 1924.
Of course, we will love to, and we'll surely join you, Dr. Ushi. I will surely join you on Instagram. I'm not using Twitter, but all those who are
And
using
I'd love it
social
for,
media,
Rohan, take a couple of nice screenshots and just switch on your cameras, everybody who's here. And then, yeah,
Yes, if everyone can switch on the cameras, we'll take a group photo. Yeah.
of
so
course.
put on your hearts, or everybody put on a nice heart so that I'll go put it up on Twitter as well. Yes, that's nice. Adjust your hair.
Keep on clicking to the heart because it may disappear after a few seconds. so that it shows up in your picture.
So, yeah, those hearts make a very, very big difference, and it's so much fun. We must become childlike. Shakuntala didn't like me. Her heart came very late. She was screaming कि इसको heart दूं कि नहीं. Good seeing everybody. Thank you, Dr. Naga, for your time and being there. And I hope you got a lot of value. Suhas, good to see you here. You're the only one with the Toastmaster background.
So Toastmasters of Delhi is definitely thankful to Dr. Ushi Mohan Das and very grateful for her presence here. Let's applaud for her as this workshop
Thank you, everybody.
goes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks to Rohan. Thanks to everybody. Those of you who love me, it's my standard dialogue. This is the only thing I repeat. All of you who love me, please raise your thumb. Okay, all of you who don't, please raise your standard. So next time you can raise your thumb. Right?
Oh, wonderful. That was amazing.
So that's
Thank
being
you,
cheeky. And you can afford to be cheeky. I'm too old, so I don't care a damn what anybody thinks. So I think you should also start doing that, because then you end up talking the truth. Right? Yeah. Thank you for your virtual backgrounds. Thank you for not Zoom doing. So we had the district conference, and when I was, sitting and listening, luckily for my talk, they didn't do anything. But after my talk, there was a gentleman who came up and he was like, MC, BC, and he was like, "Ne zor zor se gaaliyan de raha tha." And people were so offended, and they were like, "How dare you keep quiet," and all that. So we had Zoom bombing episodes, and it's awesome to watch. There was a political science class I was taking 2 days ago, and there was somebody who put a porn clip in between. And now I'm told that the political science classes are admissions are full. Because they think in the classrooms they're going to have great entertainment. Thank God for this virtual world, otherwise we would have been totally disconnected.
Absolutely. That's true.
Whether it's Chinese or it's from Turkey, it's a beautiful planet. No doubt about it.
Thank you so much, ma'am, once again. And
Bye.
it's really nice and honor to have your presence here. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Great Sunday. Bye bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
And